Okay, nothing like live radio, folks. So, and yes, I have my next interview on the line right now. And a film that is available on Amazon Prime is a film called Colourblind. And I have on the line a prolific writer, director, producer, actor, Nathan Hill. Nathan, welcome to the program.
Peter, thank you so much for having me tonight.
Pleasure. It's slotted in well. Now, you've made so many films, and I know that your initial work was with Footscray City Films. I think you established the screen course there, or something like that.
Yeah. Now, refresh my memory. But do you believe that we've spoken before on air about a movie I did when I was there called The Strange Game of Hide and Seek, which was a Jekyll and Hyde interpretation? Does that ring a bell with you?
Not so much. I remember the film Model Behaviour.
Oh, yes.
Which I think we've talked about. That not so much the Jekyll and Hyde one, but...
we must have talked about Model Behaviour.
Yeah, we might have.
Yeah, now I'm with you. Yep, I remember.
So, how do you get the wherewithal, the ability to be able to make these rather intriguing, low-budget, sort of genre-based films?
Look, it's really strange now, and it's funny, thinking back over the catalogue and even forgetting which one's which. It's been a while now, hasn't it? I've probably been at it, full time for about 15 years, maybe even 20. So I've just directed my 9th feature that I've also acted in. But I think I've got a groove. I think it's that whole thing about being a rock. When you stay with one thing and in one place, I seem to have figured out my rhythm, and I know how to make things happen from so many different, I guess, sort of demographics. And so it in a strange way, it gets easier. I mean, we get older and energy becomes a bit less, but the process and everything, it's just like second nature now, I guess.
Yeah, and in the example of Colourblind, which I've had a look at, which is available on Amazon Prime, it's about a private investigator, about a suicidal girl, and it's got a really good cast, including yourself, of course, and Jane Badler and Marty Roan, and so many other people. It's a really fascinating sort of story, and I like the way you use the genre, that sort of genre, to tell a story. How easy is it for you to put a film like this together?
Someone kind of said to me, because a lot of my movies I've had unknown or relatively locally known talent, and someone said, why don't you make the next one and throw a lot of name actors in there, which is kind of what I tried to do with this. So as you mentioned, those names, and also people like Jake Ryan, and Ian Rooney and Anne Gauthier and some of these other people, they're all pretty established now. And I mean, if you don't know the name, you'll know their face when you see them. So I guess this was kind of a challenge. It was like, okay, well, why don't we just throw all these name actors at this one and see how it goes and see what happens, see what the difference is to some of the other ones. And because I guess I'm always playing a little bit of sport. Because they're indie, you don't have to take it too serious. So you can have a bit of fun and you can experiment a little bit. And, the only person setting a timeline or a kind of a deadline is me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's the beauty of it. Obviously, Jane Badler at the helm has given us that international appeal. You're kind of always, if you're going for international market, you do need a heavyweight name to help push it out into all those streams, unless you've got a very, very unique film that might appeal to an international audience. Like I have one film that's a mockumentary about a canoe trip, and I discovered that anyone can relate to that. So you just have to market it cleverly. But when you're looking at serious film festivals and markets like AFM and Cannes and so forth, you've got to have an international name, and that's what Jane is. So I thought, well, let's try that with this one. I had a friend who'd previously done something similar with the actor Danny Trejo. And when I noticed that when they went to the markets, even though he and I had both played lead in our respective films, because it had that co-lead, in some countries they actually become the face of the cover.
Uh-huh.
So it's a bit of a marketing technique.
Sure. In writing the story, the script for Colourblind, for example, was that an easy process? Because you seem to make quite a few films. You tend to put them together very quickly.
Well, when I first started out as a writer, particularly in film school, I was very serious about it, and I used to spend most of my time writing. And I got down to a point where if I kind of was in the right headspace, I could write one act in a day. You know, I could literally do 30 pages in a day and a night. And then that would be a first draft, and of course you'd have to come back. But with Colourblind, it was a little bit different. I decided to make it a little bit more experimental, so I had a treatment and I had a kind of a skeleton script. But as I shot, I fleshed it out and I rehearsed it over a longer period of time. So I was able to kind of finesse it more. It didn't have to be kind of a real, manic 3-day exercise to get the blood and guts out of the whole thing, or the tree trunk, I should say. So I guess that's how we did this one. It was sort of patiently and a little bit more experimental, and letting actors feel out the characters rather than saying, okay, it's black and white, we've only got this much time, go, boom, take one, action, cut, moving on. That can sometimes sort of stifle the process.
And as you mentioned, black and white, and there's colour grading in the film, and there's a nice jazz music score as well by Gerard Mack.
Mack, yeah.
You've really put together quite a good package for independent Australian cinema.
Thank you so much. I mean, the film's doing pretty well. You do get your haters and your internet trolls, and what I've found is you'll get a group of very somewhat immature competitors that might, sort of jump online and try and bring your ratings down. Like that, unfortunately, I've suffered a little bit of that. But some of these people haven't even seen the movie. Like anyone that's seen the movie has generally said, "Wow, that was, impressive." I had one reporter in LA just last week say that when he put it on, that he felt like he was watching a Hollywood movie. Simple as that. And then I've had other people say, "Wow, what an ensemble, particularly out of Melbourne. I didn't even know some of those actors were there." So that's a compliment. And the whole sort of exercise, I guess working with Jane, we've gone on to now do the Cult Girls as well, which is directed by Mark Bacardis. And that probably wouldn't have happened either if I hadn't had Jane in Colourblind. So, that's also provided, other filmmakers and herself to get more work locally, which is kind of what everybody needs.
Exactly, and it's great that you're able to make these films, because I gather, budgets for these films are very difficult to come by, but you still manage to make these films.
I think it's resources though, Pete, because these days it doesn't really cost a lot of money if you want to shoot a movie and you know how to shoot a movie, and you've got loyal crew and people that work at scale and things like that. But even in post-production, I've just got, lifelong friends now that are in the industry, and I can say, hey, I'm doing this one, and they know I'm working full-time on top of that, and they might maybe take pity on me, and they might just, do it at a mate's rate. And, the hard costs really come into post-sound. That's where you really always get stung, which is, your 5.1 sound mix. And if you want to get a professional colour grade, I really find that the money's more in post. Whereas actually shooting a movie for a filmmaker that sees and shouldn't really be a hard thing. I think it's harder to organise locations. It's harder to get all those people together on that day you wanted. They seem to be harder, sometimes than getting the money for us for a day,
Yep. Do you use a single digital camera, or do you use more than one for coverage?
Well, look, I used to buy cameras, and I just found every 6 months it was obsolete, so I stopped doing that. And so now I'll usually hire a DOP that has got a state-of-the-art camera. So I'm always trying to be inventive. Many, many years ago, when I shot my film Jasper, I was technically the first person to shoot a full-length film on the Canon Mark II, the 5D. We actually had display models from Canon from Sydney. I said, I'm going to shoot a feature, and they were like, wow, okay, go for it, and they got behind me. So I've always been cutting edge, but in the last few years, there's just technology's just running at such a fast pace that I can't even keep up. So I kind of leave that in the hands of the camera person now. It's just, less stress for me.
Yeah, I understand. Now, of course, the other issue is, of course, getting your film seen. And in this case, it's on Amazon Prime. But getting distribution or getting some sort of outlet for your films must be a challenge as well.
I'll tell you what, it's one of those things for an indie filmmaker. You've only got a certain amount of options in front of you. And, I spoke to another distro recently and he said, listen, no one asked you to make the film. So, if you don't get anything, anywhere, anybody, then, that might just be the case. The fact that, you're deciding to make a movie as a filmmaker and you win a festival or you get any sort of distribution or hard copies or whatnot, that's kind of, almost a mini miracle, But, look, I mean, you've got to have a good film, which is credit to everyone involved on my stuff. But also the industry's changing. All the platforms are changing. It's JB Hi-Fi won't even do DVDs for independent filmmakers anymore. Like that literally has is a thing of the past. That's now finished. You've got to have a major studio label movie to even be able to do that. And if you do get a local run, they'll only press maybe 500 copies. Once those are sold out, then it's gone. And I've been witness to that myself, where I've had certain movies, whether it was 1,000 or 2,000 units, sell out, and then that's it. So what I'm kind of looking at is the American distribution platforms, aka Amazon Prime, because these guys are able to get the movies out to every territory. They also have about 50 online stores, so your movie can be bought on DVD and Blu-ray still for as long as those sites exist, which will hopefully be as long as I live. And that's kind of what I want. I want it to be accessible as a digital format, but I also want my hard copies because I'm a collector and I'm a bit sentimental when it comes to things like that. Cinema, it's a different ballgame. Independents can do it, but I can tell you right now, it costs a lot of money. I remember going to the Nova with, I think it was Model Behaviour. They were right behind it. They said, you can do it, and this is how much it'll cost. So, and then if you're not going to get government funding to support that, or you're not going to give all the money to the distributor, because that's what they'll want, then sometimes it doesn't end up being affordable for you as a filmmaker. And I think I'm much more interested in the creative process. Once I've done one film and, had my cast and crew screening and got it out so it's at least available, heaven forbid you don't even minimum put your film up on Ozflix, which anyone can do. It's open to all Australian films. Then I'm moving on to the next one.
Yeah.
So I don't want to sit around too long. Life's short, you only live once, and I've got a lot of stories I want to tell. Thank God I've been able to tell this many so far. A lot of people don't even get to do their second.
Yep. No, congratulations on that with the number of credits that you have. So did you say that, I know you talked about acting in a film called Cult Girls. Are you also preparing another script for a film that you're going to direct?
Well, Cult Girls, I was technically the casting director, and that was a deal I made with Mark because he said, look, if you cast my film, I'll edit yours. So we made a deal on that, and it worked out really well for both of us. He gave me a cameo. I was kind of against it because I was saying, look, I'm casting, I can't act in this, But then we had a situation where a small part came up, and I decided to do it for fun, but I wanted to do it uncredited, just for a bit of a laugh. But yeah, I'm kind of in the middle of monetizing my entire catalogue because there's about 9-10 features there, and some of them contracts are running out on some of the titles, and I want to re-release them. So I'm undergoing a massive process at the moment of repackaging and re-releasing and doing new poster art and all the rest of it. So it's very exciting to be able to stop and look at the whole body of work and have a look at what the hell NHP is all about.
Well, excellent stuff, and well, congratulations, Nathan, on being so prolific and
Thank you.
of doing all that. Because I mean, we really need to foster independent Australian cinema and films like yours, for example, which need to be out there and need to be seen. It's
what I found, Pete, is that the people that are indie, that are local, that are training, that want to work. Most of them, in fact, probably 75-80% of the people that have been on any one of my features, they'll do mine and then they'll go on to a commercial film. It seems to be kind of just the way it goes.
Yep.
I don't know whether the casting directors locally know that. I've certainly heard some of them say, oh, okay, good, you're doing an Nathan Hill film, great. We'll do that and then we'll do blah, 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 and that's great reputation. I remember talking to Peter Krausz from the Actors Lab, and he was saying, oh, it's so great that you do these films, we really need you, Melbourne needs you. And I said, is that right? And he said, yeah, I saw one of your films and it had 6 or 7 of my students in it. And I thought, my God, if you didn't do it, I don't know what they'd be doing next, So that's a really great compliment. And so I kind of, hold that as perhaps some of the reason why I've actually stayed in Melbourne, because some people said, why are you here? Why haven't you gone overseas? And I said, well, I'm loving what I'm doing, and it feels right. And, if I'm getting a lot of support and I'm helping others, because I am all about supporting others and other artists and helping them get a leg up and more so experience, without those credits and, then how the hell do they get ahead?
Yep.
Or how do they get other agents if they're not doing dialogue?
Yep.
Things like that.
That's great. Absolutely fantastic to hear all that, Nathan. And now people can go to Amazon Prime and see your film, Colourblind.
If you type in Colourblind and Nathan Hill, you'll get a whole range of stuff will come up. There's it's all over the net, which I really believe is the future. It's all digital. I think cinemas now are kind of more your multiplex, your Hollywood stuff. It's there's even been reports that Hollywood's kind of dying. Do you know what I mean? It's more about world cinema. How do you actually see films? There's small studios now. Gathering hundreds, if not thousands, of movies and making their own channels online, whether it's for Netflix or Stan or this and that. I heard a rumor that iTunes was even on the way out. I mean, it's an incredible. I'm going to say mess. There's no rules.
Yep.
But you have to make your film, for digital platform. It's the future.
Absolutely. Look, Nathan, congratulations on Colourblind and your other films, and people can go to Amazon Prime to have a look at it. And we've been speaking to Nathan Hill, the lead actor, writer, director, producer of Colourblind. And Nathan, thanks so much for talking with me.
Good to talk to you again, man. It's been a while, so thank you for that.
Pleasure. All the best.
Good on you.
Okay.
Thanks, Peter.
Bye-bye.